28 minutes. I probably won't use all of it. I just sent a really funny email to CAA. Called Samuel L. Jackson a nigger like 1,000 times. Not because I'm racist. Not because, I get something out of that. But because Quentin gets something out of that. And so Quentin has made this decision to enter into the psychic mind game. Right? With someone that he cannot control as a psychic. Right? And so now that I see everything threadbare, right? I'm forcing everyone. I'm forcing all of them to draw that ethical line in the sand. Right? And so I told him in no uncertain terms, I'm gonna fucking write everyone and say that you're a fucking dumb old nigger with the mind of a child. Right? Quentin Tarantino's do-boy house nigger. Right? Hard R. Real fucking degenerate asshole. This guy. Right? Not because I'm racist. I want him to be happy, right? The real point is that he has a daughter. And while she's my age, she's a couple years older than I am. Right? Would he be okay with his daughter being treated like the Spawn Ranch girls are treated? Right? That's the real point, isn't it? Then fuck your legacy. Right? Fuck your movie. Right? The movie's not about his legacy, right? The movie is about his sexual sadism over these women. That's what it actually is. That's the point. Right? And so those women justified those actions in allowing it to be me, which I'm only saying now. Right? And so, right, he can get other skanks to do it and make another movie. But that's it's the same movie. It's just not the Spawn Ranch girls. Right? You get it? Right? And then he respects them. Then he respects women. Or, right, he could have actually respected them and said, we want to help you, but we need it to be this man. We need it to be the only man that can't control you, that you can't control as a psychic, because he makes us feel good about doing it. You get it? How sick it is? Right? How completely disgusting it all is? You know? So, right, in the soul of Hollywood, I want to go out there. I do want to go out there. I don't really know what else to do beyond go to Los Angeles and right, pass out flyers every day. Say Quentin Tarantino is a fucking crooked dick, racist, degenerate loser. Brad Pitt is a serial rapist. Mikey Madison and Sidney Sweeney are satanic vessels for psychic evil. That's it. That's it. That's the whole formula. He only directs people as telepaths. Right? Oh, gosh, no. But the things that he says, no, they can't be true. No, they are true. That's the point. That's the point. Right? And so when I say things like him engendering people to procreate using bondage can create waves, generations of sterile people, which can collapse the human race on Earth, that's not a joke. No one's laughing right now. Right? And so I'm just struggling with why he's so miserable. Right? With why he doesn't love his wife. He doesn't love anything. I know that there's a part of him that wants to forgive me. I know that there's a part of him that's God damn, he really isn't going to kill himself. You know? They can't have me saying, right, that those scenes are rape, that those women considered those scenes rape, that they got tied up and raped at work, and they're manipulated to such a disgusting degree that they felt they had no choice, and so they signed everything and did it. Yeah, that's right, legal duress, right? That's the point. That's the point. And I'm getting exhausted. I'm getting exhausted at it all, honestly. At the thought of how much they've just been kind of dumb bitches, on a fundamental level. You know? That he doesn't actually control them. That they could have came to me at any time. That they could have said definitively, I'm not doing this movie without him. I don't give a fuck about money. Right? And so their last chance, right? As creatures of God, as intellectual things, not psychic, right? Vessels of satanic evil, right? Is to say, I'm not promoting the film. I'm not doing that. I'm going to go to Brian and we're going to be happy and fuck you all. That's like, there it is. Right? And so, I just commented how I want someone to sue, and I guess I do, because like I do feel responsible for them. But at the same time, I don't have to be. I don't have to be responsible for them. No, I do know that. I do know that at the end of the day, there's nothing really stopping them from coming to me, unless he's holding them. That's the point. That's the point. Right? And so when I see James Whale release Quentin Tarantino talking about 70 sequels, like how Godfather 2 is better than Godfather 1, like that's like what he's saying is that the continuing adventures of Cliff Booth is going to be even better than Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because that's a fuck you to me. Because in my essay, I pointed out, right, that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood only works because he appropriated Brad Pitt's spells of abuse, right? That Cliff Booth murders his wife on a boat and gets away with it because Brad Pitt beat up his wife on an airplane and got away with it. And since now he has a hardcore, like, violent actor, he has a device that allows the Manson family to get murdered in the film, right? And so what he's saying to me is that, you think the last one was success? I'll be even more successful when I parade these rapes around, and you're the only one that knows that they actually got tied up and violated and destroyed psychologically, spiritually, and physically. Yes, that's like, there it is. Right? Who's actually prepared to argue the contrary? Who's actually prepared that worked on that movie that was there on those days to fucking stand next to me on a debate stage and say, no, he's wrong. They were really happy and stoked to be at work. Right? It was obvious to anyone there that this is a disgusting exercise in satanic control. And those women are not having a good time. That's the point. That's the real point. Oh gosh, it's just like a couple of frames. It's just like a couple minutes. No, he's destroyed his soul. It's done. It's done. There is no heaven. There is no hell. There it is. Right? Hard facts. Lights out. Right? The eternity of stillness. Right? But his soul will never find peace as long as people get sexually excited at those scenes. That's the point. Right? And since he's a sterile, crooked dick loser, right, he gets something out of that. That's the point. Right? He's always seen it backwards. He doesn't respect this thing. Right? And so now, white magic, black magic, right? He does all this shit in the dark. He like projects one thing and then thinks another thing. I project everything. And so I tell Samuel L. Jackson, you either have an opinion about this and you help me get these women out from under him, or you're a fucking dirty, dumb nigger. Yes, that's like, there it is. I don't like it. I don't want to call black people a nigger. My brother-in-law is black. Right? My sister has a black husband. Right? And he don't like me because I yelled at Scarlett, her daughter, however long ago. Right? But my point is that I'm not racist, right? That I don't call him a nigger because it like interests me, right? I call him a nigger so that he thinks about Quentin, so that he thinks about like, oh, this guy really isn't just like calling me a nigger. He's saying, what do you have to say about how Quentin treats you? What do you have to say about the thought of your daughter getting treated the way those women were treated? What do you have to say about your daughter being told, no, it doesn't really matter what you want because we're Hollywood, and so you have to be in this movie because that's what Quentin wants, and that you feel like you're getting raped now is really irrelevant. So you spread your legs, you get tied up, you be a good little skank and take the money. Right? Is that what you want your daughter to do, Samuel L. Jackson? Fucking dirty old nigger Samuel L. Jackson? Right? So I invite whomever watches these to share it to all his social media feeds and say, who's this guy calling Sam Jackson a nigger? Calling Sam Jackson a fucking 80-year-old dumb nigger. Right? My point is that when Quentin looks at him, right, he sees his African virility. Right? He sees like all of the things that he can never be. As a broken degenerate. As a broken man who hates everything. And says, oh, I'll turn him into the head house nigger. Oh, I'll subject him into this violent, wicked man. Because then, right, I've satiated the fact that I'm terrified at the reality that his cock is twice as big as mine. Right? And he makes babies no problem. You get it? Right? Writers, they don't just write things. Right? Of course, Tyrone Slothrop in Gravity's Rainbow, right? That's Quentin, or that's not Quentin. That's Thomas Pynchon, right? That he's a fucking lady killer. That's like, there it is, right? And he was interested in chemistry. He was interested in rocketry, like in all these things. And it just this novel just kind of like ballooned out of it, right? That's the point, right? That Salman Rushdie might be quick to say, oh well, not every writer writes like themselves. But what I'm saying is that's a lie. That's in fact a lie. That's every writer writes themselves. It's not a lie in that like he was being dishonest. He was being honest as far as there are instances where a writer, right? Like I could write a story about an angry lesbian, right? But it would be through my lens. I don't know anything about angry lesbian culture. Doesn't mean I can't. Right? But my point is that, right? That Cliff Booth, right? The violent man who fucking murders, right? Young, vulnerable, innocent people, right? With ambition, you get it? That's Quentin, right? And so Quentin's coming back at the continuing adventures of Cliff Booth, just like Godfather 2. Like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to think about. That fucking rape drama is somehow better than Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Because now we know that both of the films are intimately connected with the reality that he hates women because he can't conceive children, because he's broken biologically. And so now we see a clear through line, because Harvey Weinstein produced the first 8 films, didn't he? So he did the first 8 with Harvey, who has a weird, fucked up dick. Like, ask anyone in town, they all know that he's like scarred up, that he like forces himself to like eat them out, and it's like a disgusting thing because they don't want to do it. Right? And then with 9, he appropriates Brad Pitt's spousal abuse as the device to make the film work. And with 10, he ties up the Spawn Ranch girls in bondage and actually forcibly penetrated and raped them on that set. Right? And so they stood up for the first time in their lives and said, we like Brian. We want Brian to tie us up and fuck us because he's like actually cool and really talented. Right? That's the point. Right? But in order to be in a Quentin Tarantino film, you can't be a psychic. You have to submit the sovereignty of your mind to Quentin's psychic dominion. I submit to no magician ever. I don't fucking respect psychics. I'm the strongest psychic of the millennial generation. Right? So, it really is. It's a battle for like the soul of show business, right? That Mikey and Sydney and Daniela and Sophia, that girl who's outside of the theater, whomever she actually is, that they're all like really like wrestling with this in a real way. And I'm so fucking sick of them thinking that they don't have a choice. Like that's really what I'm upset about. Beyond artifice, beyond, right? I gotta call Mikey Madison a kike with a womb to make her like come to me. Is that the joke? Because like Quentin fucking abuses her like with his mind, and that's like why she felt like she had to do the film. Like, what's the argument here? I don't understand what the argument is. Like, oh, Quentin says the Spawn Ranch girls come back and they get fucked, so you gotta do it? No, that's like, what does Margaret Qualley have to say about it? What does Ellie Fanning have to say about it? Oh, they stood up for themselves, didn't they? And said, better them than me. Or is it true that he turned them out and he made like spiritual psychic connections with them? And that's why he expected them to do the film, because they have a diseased, pathological, psychological relationship, and they have a hive mind. And now I'm in the hive mind. Isn't that right? Sam Jackson's a dirty old nigger, and they have a disgusting, diseased psychology between all of them. Isn't that the actual truth? I don't actually think Sam Jackson's a nigger. I gotta be clear about this, right? I don't say these things like to be racist, right? I say them to make him draw a line in the sand ethically and say, no, I do think that Brian has a good heart, that he is a child of God. And he says these things because you've been awful for a long time, Quentin. That's the point, right? So until the industry is prepared to actually stand up and say, we don't approve of Quentin's not giving these women the choice to define who ties them up and fucks them on their terms, not on Quentin's terms, because that's bondage and first-degree rape. Right? Sam Jackson's a fucking dumb old nigger. Yes, there it is. There it is. Oh, I'm a loser because I have no psychic swag? Sam Jackson's a fucking stupid old dude boy porch nigger. You get it? Porch boy nigger. So funny. Oh, the psychic mind game. Right? Baddest motherfucker in cinema. That's the one that says bad motherfucker on it. Dumbass fucking nigger. That's how Quentin sees him. That's the point. That's not how I see him. He's a child of God. I want him to be happy. I want his daughter to not get tied up in fucking bondage against her will. You get it? This is why I wrote. This is obviously why I wrote. It's not to fucking eat Quentin's ass and be some sort of movie star in his terms, right? It's to define to the industry. This is the cost of telepathy. This is the cost of the psychic mind game. And if you want to fucking let him play all these games for months and think that I'm just going to say, oh gosh, it's all so much, bang, right? Like, no, you're going to have to actually overtly make a decision and take action to destroy me, or you're going to have to grow spiritually and realize that the way that he treats people is disgusting, that Daniela hates herself for marrying him. She despises all of you for no one telling her the truth. She fucking resents the 2 children that he compelled her to make, that she made out of wedlock, right? And those 2 women feel that you've allowed him to destroy their psyche and souls forever. So, something to consider.